Have you ever come across this situation? You're totally prepared for the gig. You have the set lists ready, all the equipment is in working order, everybody's ready to go. And then the day of the gig, something goes wrong and it requires you to make a lot of changes in a very short amount of time. I dealt with one situation recently, and as I'm filming this, it was this past weekend. Something went very wrong, and we had to make a lot of adjustments really quickly within like the 2 hours before the event was supposed to start. That event did give me a little bit of heartburn, but I want to speak to the fact that this band was prepared for things like that to happen, and yet it was still an issue on the day of an event.
Okay, how do we handle this?
Let's talk about how to deal with situations where things don't go right and you still got to get through the gig. Welcome back to Danny Robertson Music, where we're helping you be the performer that you are meant to be. I'm Danny. Thank you for joining me. As always, we are talking about gig mishaps today, and I had a pretty big one this last weekend. A situation arose that we kind of had to handle very quickly. The audience that was there participating in the event was none the wiser because we acted professional through all of it. The primary group that I play with is a special events kind of band. So we do a lot of weddings, we do a lot of corporate events, we do some public showcases, but most of what we do is private. And most of the clients that we work with are people that are spending a good amount of money to hire the band, and they have high expectation. The music has to be good. The entertainment value has to be good. The professionalism has to be good. So when mistakes happen, it's not a good thing for this band. On that particular day, the band, which is made up of about 40 different people, we had 3 versions of the band playing at 3 different weddings at the same time on that day. The band leader was planning to run sound for his own gig, but the one that I was at and the third gig that was happening that day were having contracted sound companies come and run the sound for each of those events. We currently work with about 6 different sound companies because sometimes we don't have enough to produce a big enough sound for like an outdoor event. Sometimes we are in multiple places like it was for the case on this day, and we needed multiple sound companies to be involved in our shows. The issue that happened on this particular day was the gentleman who was contracted for running sound for that particular event that I was on had suddenly ended up in the hospital.
Mega crap.
On top of him ending up in the hospital, we did have an additional sound system that was available to us in the same city in a storage locker that the 2 keys that were available for it were in other cities. We had no sound. And because that person was planning on bringing lighting, we had no lighting for the event.
What do we do now?
So what did we do? Well, regarding sound, we got really lucky. Somebody that had run sound for us before, and we had worked with many times, super nice guy, ended up being an attendee at that wedding. He was able to get a hold of a sound system and bring it and run sound for us at the event.
Our Savior has arrived.
But lighting was going to be a totally different story because he didn't have access to any. So our option was to either go without lighting or try to find it from somewhere else. And I was able to get a hold of an old bandmate from my old band and ask them if they were gigging on that particular day, which luckily they weren't. And he was able to run the lights to me right to where I was performing the gig. There were a few additional hurdles that we had to get figured out. Like there was some music that had to be played for like first dances and things like that. And we were able to get all that sorted out as well. But once we got going and actually started running the event, it was surprising how smooth we were able to get that to work out. The bride and groom at that wedding loved us. We had a great time. They had a great time. And it turned out to be a really great night. And when I talked to the band leader about it later on, I basically called it something like a successful train wreck. Everything that could have gone wrong that day pretty much did, but we still got through it and made it into a successful, really fun experience for everybody. I'm very proud of my bandmates. I was very thankful for the guy that ran sound that night. And I was very thankful to my old bandmate who was able to bring me the lighting. This is a very professional group. We don't typically leave anything to chance. We prepare ahead of time. We get set lists ready. We get all the details of what the brides and grooms or the clients need from their event so that we can deliver that responsibly, professionally, and with a lot of fun. This band doesn't deal with issues like this very often. So when it does happen, it really is a testament to how well the band is able to respond, and it makes me proud to be in the band. If I were to think about it, I think there's been about 4 separate occasions where there's been a mishap or a hurdle or some kind of issue that the band has had to overcome. And in most cases, they've handled it with grace and professionalism. There was the one about a year ago where my old Motif keyboard had an issue with sound being produced, and it turned out it wasn't even the keyboard that was the problem. There had been a cable that had been disconnected, and we were able to figure it out after the fact. But the bigger ones are like what happened this past weekend with the sound man ending up in the hospital. There was a hiccup about 6 months ago where we had a version of the band that was supposed to play a wedding, and we got to sound check, and at the point of where everybody was supposed to be there for sound check, we realized our saxophone player was not there and not showing up. He had not realized that he had double booked himself. And so he was playing a gig in a different city at the same time we were expecting him to be at the one with us. The band leader and I made a few calls. We ended up talking to one of the other saxophonists that plays with the band who was playing another gig. He knew somebody in our area that could come and be available for the gig, and he sent him in. We had never worked with him before, and the guy just nailed the show. So now he's part of the band. Lastly, there was another issue that happened 2 or 3 years ago at a gig that was out of town. The mixing console that they were supposed to use that day, they plugged it into power, turned it on, and it started creating smoke. Luckily, there was another mixing board available that was able to be run to that gig, and they were able to get through it okay as well. There haven't been many issues like this, which it kind of says a lot about the band, because this band performs a lot of gigs in a lot of different places, and they're expected to perform at a fairly high level most of the time. So for there not to be a whole lot of big issues happening, that says a lot about the people that are working in this group. When you go to play gigs, you have to expect that there will be times where things go wrong. But when it comes to performing a show, mistakes are a hurdle that you're going to have to overcome. Giving a great experience to your client, your audience, you can either choose to just fold right there and then, or you can choose to get to work, solve your problems, and move forward. So after working through the issue from this past weekend, I kind of have 3 quick rules of thumb that will help get you through tough situations like this. If you're the one having to handle a situation like this, it can cause you a lot of stress. So the first thing I want you to do is slow down and take a deep breath. Let yourself be aware of the situation, take it in, and then start contemplating the steps that you need to take to solve the problem. The second thing is, many of you have bandmates around you that will be there during this situation with you. Lean on those bandmates. Your bandmates can help you steer through that issue while simultaneously you can work through the stress of it together. I was lucky enough that I was on the gig with my good friend Tony, who's a trumpet player in the band, and Tony knew the right things to say to me. Steer me down the path of let's get this done, as opposed to going down the rabbit hole of look at all this crap that we've got to figure out. Trust your bandmates. Ask them to help. Ask them to be a part of the solution. Your bandmates are the direction that's going to get you through these problems. Third and finally, once you've taken a deep breath and you've started talking through things with your bandmates, get to work. Because a problem doesn't fix itself by you doing nothing. So go and attack the problem. The solution may not be easy, but the only way to get to the end of that issue is to go right through the middle, okay? Get to work, attack the problem, and in the meantime, lean on your bandmates and breathe. It's going to be okay. So that's it for this week. Best of luck to you on your next gig, and we'll see you soon. Take care.